Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. It's the debut of the Puck Drops here. You all know who I am. I am the source. It says right down there on the screen. Uh, yeah, this is going to be an easy show tonight. A lot to talk about throughout the year. I kind of want to keep it simple for everybody just so we can get something established. Um, but welcome. This is going to be a great time for everybody. Excuse me. Sorry, I'm a little distracted here. Got the Phillies baseball game on at the same time. So, quick little bit to start here. Congrats to the Vegas Golden Knights. And actually, I want to show everybody here something because this is freaking cool. Um, here's their their ring, their first ever Stanley Cup, first team since the Philadelphia Flyers expansion team to um, win the Stanley Cup. Had a moment there, but it's a pretty cool layout for a ring. We got all these diamonds here. The team motto: Vegas born and always advanced, connected by the Las Vegas skyline over here on the right hand side. The cup in six, inscribed on the interior of the band. 67 white diamonds in helmet, honor total wins in regular season and playoffs. Striping represents the uniform stripes of gold jersey. The cup was won in 16 stars around inner bezel for each of our playoff victories. Approximately 12 carats of white and yellow diamonds. Then inside the ring itself is the Vegas Golden Knights Arena, the T-Mobile Arena, with all 9 goals scored in Cup clinching Game 5, denoted on miniature T-Mobile Arena. It's a pretty cool ring. Congratulations to them. I think it's pretty awesome to see them win. We could see more of that this year, too. We will get into that a little bit. And also, congrats to my local team, the Hershey Bears, the American Hockey League. Calder Cup champions for the 12th time in their history, beat the Coachella Valley Firebirds, Thunderbirds, Firebirds, whatever they are. Huge, huge uh, win for Hershey, to be honest with you. Um, Not expected. I didn't think that they would be able to pull it off, but we'll see. I'm rocking this pretty legit Sean Couturier jersey, so I'm glad to see that he's back. So let's get into it a little bit here. We got some off-season news. The biggest headline probably is the whole Mike Babcock situation. And if you aren't familiar with what happened here, um, Mike Babcock was fired by the Columbus Blue Jackets after an investigation. Oh, excuse me. It was brought out by the Spit and Chicklets podcast of Ryan Whitney and Paul Bissonnette, former players who played for Babcock, on some bizarre behavior that happened in his initial process with the team. And that bizarre issue was the I don't even know how I want to describe this, but so he would take the players' phones and ask them to show his camera roll. He'd put it on the screen. He wants to see what type of player they are. So if there was anything inappropriate on the phones, everybody in that room saw it. It's a little disgusting. It is just mind blowing that it even happened. So Columbus decided, hey, you know what? We're done with you. So they decided to get rid of him. So Babcock's a great coach. Don't let that's not going to take anything away from that he is a really good coach. It's just one of these things where that is very bizarre. You don't see that happen too often. And yeah, so some other big news then is the NHL draft happened. Number 1 pick, Chicago Blackhawks. Lots of controversy behind them on whether or not they should have had that pick, but to each their own. Took the outright best player in the draft, Connor Bedard. So far in preseason, Bedard has lived up to the hype, and I get it, it's preseason, but he has looked very strong. So here we are. Now we're into the preseason hockey. is over. We're getting ready to start the NHL regular season. Some of these other draft picks are making their way or made their way onto the rosters. One of the notables, and I'm only saying this because I followed it very closely, was Matvei Mitkov of the Flyers. Some controversy behind him just because of the whole Russia and United States deal. So Mitkov currently is a uh, KHL player, technically, and probably won't see the NHL anytime soon. Uh, the Flyers have tried and they've tried and they tried, and he's not going to end up probably playing for them this year. So unless a miracle happens, we don't know. But the kid fell to number 6. He was actually projected to be the number 2 pick, fell all the way down to the Flyers at the 6th pick. They took him, and it's the risk you take, I guess. So some other big moves that happened over the offseason. We had some big trades. Blackhawks got Corey Perry from Tampa Bay on a 7th round pick, so that's a steal. Penguins got Riley Smith from Vegas. I think that's a great move for Pittsburgh. Vegas adds a 3rd round pick to from next year's draft. The team I feel like that made the best offseason when it came to the draft, when it came to trading, was the New Jersey Devils. Gave up Mackenzie Blackwood for a 6th round pick to the Sharks and drafted well. They traded Damon Severson, who I felt like was a little overrated of a defenseman anyways, for a 3rd round pick in this past draft. So they made out pretty well and ended up going out getting Tyler Toffoli from the Flames. So I will get into this a little bit here, but I feel like the New Jersey Devils are the best team in hockey. The only team I think that can compete with them will be the New York Rangers. So give me 1 second here. Okay, so some other big news here in the offseason. Flyers got rid of Ivan Provorov, traded him to the Blue Jackets. Got Kyle Pedersen as a goalie, Sean Walker, a 2023 1st round pick, 2024 2nd round pick, and a conditional 2024 2nd round pick. They also got a prospect in Helga Grans, and traded away then to the Kings, Kevin Connaughton and Hayden Hodgins. That's probably one of the other big trades that happened. Huge move. Provorov made some headlines in the offseason, even during the season, with the whole I'm not going to wear your warm-up Pride jerseys because it's against my beliefs from that he is from Russia. So huge move, which led to the NHL saying, okay, no more of the specialty nights and pregame warm-up jerseys. That includes the Step Up to Cancer and military appreciation and all that. So to avoid any controversy, they got rid of all that. Thanks to, for the most part, Ivan Provorov. A smart move on his part to stand by what he believes in and continue on with his beliefs as we move forward. So with that, my winners of the offseason, I feel like the Carolina Hurricanes and the New Jersey Devils are probably the 2 top teams that are winners. Loser-wise, your best team in hockey last year was the Boston Bruins, and they just self-imploded. They've gotten rid of a lot of key pieces that got them to where they were last year. They're not going to be as talented as they were. They signed James Van Riemsdyk to a contract. Um, just we'll see. I mean, I feel like Bruins have potential to be a decent hockey team this year. They're not the best team in that conference, and we'll get into that here very shortly. And I feel like my Flyers didn't do anything either. It wasn't anything that made you stick out and go, "Wow!" Like they look like they have potential. They're going to be a young team. They're up and coming. They're rebuilding. Something that they needed to do for a long time. They just haven't gotten there because of management issues. Now they got Daniel Briere as their GM, Keith Jones as the director of player personnel type position. So lots of good things happening in Philly. So Philly fans, bear with me. If you're like me, it's going to be a long season, but we'll get there. We're going to make it to where we need to be by the end of this year. We'll be somewhere, and we'll go from there. So we'll touch more about the things that have gone on in the offseason as the shows go on. We'll talk about stuff that is happening during the season. Let's pull up here the early Stanley Cup odds because this will be big for later. So I talked about Carolina and New Jersey being two of the best teams, I think, in hockey this year. And the Stanley Cup odds show. You can put your money on this through my bookie and Doc Sports Picks, one of our proud sponsors here to BW Sports One. Carolina Hurricanes, though, I'm telling you, watch out for them. They were really good last year. They were probably one of the best teams in hockey last year. Very well ran organization with Rod Brindamore still at the helm. Just an absolutely stellar team. Added Dmitry Orlov. I always called him the scared Russian because he played in Hershey for a few years and I was always afraid to get hit. Probably the only Russian hockey player that was ever afraid to get hit. So, but solid move for Carolina. I could see them being the representative from the Eastern Conference. And then let's go a little bit here through the rest of this list. Colorado, coming off a Stanley Cup win a few years ago, they look pretty stout. Edmonton is always a threat. When you have the best player in hockey and Connor McDavid and then his sidekick and Leon Draisaitl, it's hard to root against them. So big things for Edmonton fans. Could be a great year for you guys. You could be representing the Western Conference. I know the last year was a little tough because Vegas was going to be a tough out, and they go on to win the Stanley Cup. So don't be disappointed, Edmonton fans, if you don't make it to the Cup. It's going to be a tough road ahead, especially with Colorado on this list. But good things are coming your way. Same with Toronto. Toronto is always becoming a Stanley Cup favorite over the years, and they're just falling flat on their face. So I wouldn't put any money on them to go past the first round if they get into the playoffs. The New Jersey Devils, again, another sneaky team I feel like could be a Stanley Cup contender. What they've done in the offseason, it is incredible what type of team that they're turning into and how aggressive they have been with all their moves and even on the ice. So New Jersey's a sneaky pick. New Jersey might not even be the best team in their division, as the New York Rangers, who are on this list, are I feel like are one of the best teams. They got the best goalie in Igor Shesterkin, and that's big. That's a big thing to have in hockey this year is goaltending. Having defense in front of you helps too, but the goaltending in this league is going to be crazy with how some of the rules and stuff have changed over the years to try and favor scoring. Smaller nets, smaller goalie pads, or bigger nets, smaller goalie pads. Shesterkin is just one of those guys. Don't be surprised if he comes out at the end of the year and winning the Vezina Trophy as your top goaltender in hockey, just because of how good he is. So they come in at 7th. The Dallas Stars are a sleeper pick at 8. Talked about Boston. They were the best team last year. I don't think that they're going to be that good. They're going to be good. They're going to be a playoff contender, but they're not going to be the top team in hockey. And then the Florida Panthers, again, another sneaky team that's going to get in. Could do some damage. They did some damage this past year in the playoffs. You could see it again. really no big moves in the offseason to get away from their core or to add to their core players. So it is nice to see teams stay where they should be for the start of the year. Um, so it's going to be kind of crazy to start. We'll see some teams that are going to pull off some wins. We'll show you here. I'll show you here this early schedule here for hockey. Um, so we open up actually tomorrow is the first night of regular season hockey. The matchup I'm watching right here for tomorrow night, Seattle versus Vegas. I know it's a late game. If you can catch it, awesome. And also, this is all from ESPN. So a lot of the games are on ESPN, ESPN Plus. Also, your local television if they carry it, and TNT will have the coverage again as well. But Seattle, Vegas. Seattle is a very, very good hockey team. They were the new expansion team. Came in about 3 years ago now, or this will be their third season. Very, very tough first year for them under Ron Francis as their GM. But here we are now. They were a very competitive team in the playoffs last year. I thought they could give Vegas a run for their money. I think they can give Vegas a run for their money this year. Curious to see what they're going to do with Shane Wright. They waived him to the minors, to Coachella Valley, and I can see him coming up at some point here before the season's over. We get into Wednesday. We got some tough matchups on Wednesday. Battle Canadian teams in Montreal, Toronto. The intriguing one that I see is this Carolina Ottawa game, because if Carolina comes out slow against I wouldn't say a terrible Ottawa team, they're mediocre, but they can ruin your day for you. So it's going to be, I'm curious to see how this is going to go for them. And then Thursday, obviously, I feel like the game of the week for the game of the night for that one is going to be the Philadelphia Columbus game, just because of the fact of all the problems that are behind the Columbus Blue Jackets. What type of team are we going to see? They're coming off of some rough weather with the way the coaching was, or the coaching changes, and they added Johnny Gaudreau last year at the trade deadline. So we'll see. Patrick Laine, another very talented forward. So I'm kind of curious to see what's going to happen here for the Columbus Blue Jackets. This is a big game for Philly to start out as well with their new regime of upper management and players. It's a young core of players for Philly as well. So this is just a little bit to start the year. Lots of exciting hockey though to start the year. So as you can see, full slate on Saturday. Sunday it's a small slate, and then we get into Monday, and this gets us into the first week of hockey. So with that, let's get into a little bit of the Eastern Conference preview. Let's take a look at last year's standings. Let me get this up here real quick. So, as I mentioned earlier, the Boston Bruins were the top team in hockey last year. It was very, they ran away with it. I mean, it's hard to not argue that they ran away with it. But that second on down was pretty tight between Carolina, New Jersey, Toronto, and the Rangers. I think you're going to see the same thing this year, but I just think you're going to see the tables turn where Carolina is going to be the top team. New Jersey's going to be right there. The Rangers are going to be right there. I think Boston comes in below them, but ahead of Toronto, and then Toronto will be that bottom of that list of the 100 points in the Eastern Conference. I think New Jersey ekes out the Rangers for the Metropolitan. We'll pull up the Metropolitan here for that second seed, because Carolina, I feel like, is going to win the Metro by a decent amount. I have Toronto winning the Atlantic over Boston and Tampa Bay, and I feel like Florida is that fourth team again in that in that division, but we'll see. For the Metro, it's Carolina, New Jersey, the Rangers, and sneaking in, think is going to be the Pittsburgh Penguins. It hurts me to say that. Um, but if you look at last year, as you see here on the screen, everything was just tight amongst everybody from start to finish for the year. So kind of cool. This is why hockey is one of my favorite sports. This is why we brought it to the network, is for everybody else to enjoy it as much as what we do. So, uh, so that puts us down here. So who do I think is going to be the Eastern Conference champion? I know I gave you the odds, and I know that they are the odds-on favorite, but the Carolina Hurricanes probably are the odds-on favorite to be in the Stanley Cup final, and I'm going to stand by that. I think talent-wise, they are probably one of the most talented teams in hockey. Um, the Phillies are up 3-0 right now in this NLDS game over the Braves, so this is a pretty cool night of having the hockey preview on at the same time of the NLDS. So I think Carolina is going to be it's going to come down to Carolina versus either the Rangers or the Devils in the Eastern Conference Finals. It just depends on how the bracket plans out. I think Carolina goes to the Stanley Cup, and I do believe Carolina will probably win the Stanley Cup this year, just because I think they are the most talented team in hockey. In the West, this is going to be a tough conference again this year, as you can tell from top to bottom last year. The difference from Vegas to Winnipeg was close. Even from second on down, it was a close battle, especially for seeding. I think you're going to see that again. But I agree with everybody else's odds and predictions. I feel like Edmonton and Colorado are the two best teams out of the West, just because they are still such young, talented teams. And I'm not saying Vegas is not. I think Vegas is there. I think they're in the running. I just feel like Edmonton and Colorado are probably the two best teams out of the West, just like I feel like Carolina and the Devils are the two best teams out of the East. So my pick from the West, I feel like is going to be the Colorado Avalanche. And they're going to take out Edmonton in the conference finals to go to the Stanley Cup. So it's going to be Carolina over Colorado in the Stanley Cup finals itself. But you look down through this list, and there's a lot of question marks once you get past the Dallas Stars. Can the LA Kings be sustainable all year? Did they do enough pieces? Did they bring in enough pieces to consistently be there when it matters? Same with Minnesota. I feel like Seattle is a very good team. I feel like Winnipeg is going to be another very, very talented team. Calgary could be another sneaky team. I think if the cards would fall their way, they can steal some wins, some key wins throughout the year. We could be talking about them being the 8th seed in the Western Conference. And if they can get into the playoffs, Calgary is a very, very tough place, just like Winnipeg is a very tough place. I don't see Nashville being that good. I feel like they were one of the losers in the offseason. Another team to watch out for, and I hate to say it, I think Chicago has done enough to bump them up from being at the bottom of the list. I don't know they're a playoff team just yet. I need to see a little bit more of them, but Bedard is definitely going to be a generational talent for them to get them over that hump. So they're not necessarily being the bottom of the league again. So I could really see Chicago being mid-pack for the Western Conference. As the season goes on, I'll have shows. I'll give updates. This one was going to be a little quick show tonight just because I have a lot of stuff going on here, especially with the baseball game going on. So this is not going to be an every week show. This will be probably twice a month. So yeah, tune in. I'll be posting updates throughout the year. of key injuries, any moves that are happening, games to watch. Um, I will get something out here tomorrow with this week's games and games that everybody should keep their eyes out for. Um, so we'll go back up here to the East real quick. I wanted to touch a little bit here. So for how bad the Flyers were last year, they were they were there towards the end. They had to have a lot of things go their way, and it didn't. Um, I feel like they can be a 500 team, and I'm saying that as a biased Flyers fan, but I feel like they can be a 500 team. They have the young players. They just need the defense in front of them. I don't know if they have the defense. So, as a Flyers fan, this is going to be a tough year. Like I said at the beginning of the show, I think it's going to be a tough year for all of us Philly fans when it comes to hockey. Good news is, as baseball fans, we got the Phillies winning against the Braves, so we got that going for us. I think when the season's over, though, you're going to see the cream rise to the crop like it has every year, and I think this year's cream of the crop is definitely these odds right here. The Carolinas, the Colorados, the Edmontons, New Jersey. I feel like this is where if you're going to put money down, now's the time to do it. Put it on Carolina, Colorado, in the Stanley Cup. I feel like this is going to be the matchup to watch. I feel like as hockey fans, this is the matchup that we want to see is a Carolina, Colorado. And even Edmonton being in there, Edmonton's not a bad pick for a Stanley Cup appearance. But Carolina, by far, best team in hockey. Um, so we'll see. I'm no guru. I'm just a big hockey fan, like everybody, like the millions and millions of people across the world that love this sport. So we'll see. We'll see. This is going to be a great year. Like I said, we appreciate everybody, or I appreciate everybody who has tuned in, checked in real quick just to see what's going on. Hopefully, as the year goes on, we'll get some people on here. We can have some discussions about hockey. And if any fans want to hop on, we'll have some discussions too. Um, I'm definitely looking forward to bringing you guys some more content as this season goes on. This is exciting that this network is taken off. This is going to be great for everybody. This is a fantastic time of year. So with that, where is the network at now for the rest of this week? So Wednesday we got the Dukes of football. Some big football stories to talk about for this week, especially the way college football went down this past week, the way the NFL went. I know I'm going to get slack for my Cowboys performance last night. It is what it is. I had no expectations. I didn't think that they even had a prayer in the world. I'm just glad that they put up 10 points. So we have that. Last night we had a live show for baseball. During the baseball game, I had technical difficulties. It's kind of why this show's going to be cut a little short tonight, just because I'm having more technical difficulties I'm trying to work out all the bugs here. So, playoff baseball is in full effect. We got a lot of sports going on. I'm sure we'll have the state of basketball coming back here shortly. Super kicking it with Steven and Greg. Always forget to mention Greg and that stuff, but Greg is killing us in fantasy football. He's killing us in picks. So please support all of our sponsors. They've been scrolling there at the bottom. They are some great people. We got Elite Performance, Interbeast Sportswear, The One's Kitchen, The Fighter's Friend. I know I'm missing a few. Southern Indiana Combat Productions, I know, is one. And again, please give us a like, a follow, a share. Thank you for all of your interactions. Check out all of our other friends at MyBookie, AG, Doc Sports Picks. The One, the Lion, Quigs, Stephen A. Our Stephen A, not that guy on that other network that nobody likes, and Greg and everybody else that is on our network here. We thank everybody for their participation and their viewership and their likes and their shares and their comments and everything. If it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't be here. So till next time, I will get more hockey content out here soon. It's just till we get the season started, till we can work on schedules. I didn't want to cut into Monday Night Football. I didn't want to cut into playoff baseball too much. So expect another show here within in a couple weeks. But pay attention to the page. There's going to be a lot to post. There's going to be a lot to talk about. There's going to be a lot of hockey to put out there. It's a long season. We got 82 games ahead of us. Go Flyers and Carolina for the Stanley Cup. So thank you, everybody. And until next time, I will talk to you all later.